Hi guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Conqueror's Blade. So today, obviously following the announcement last Friday about the new premium units, these Mercenary units. Obviously I did a video on them the other day talking kind of about them as an overview, but I wanted to try and sort of produce a video for every one of them, just so you sort of have a bit of an idea about what each of them are like. Given it's the cheapest and it's the easiest for me to get hold of, I thought we'll start with the Black Dragon Archers, because I think this is what the bulk of people are going to be going for, because they only cost 250,000 silver, so they're pretty easy to get hold of initially. So let's kind of have a look at their stats. So as I say, 250,000 silver to buy, and they start off max level at level 20, if you didn't realise, because they get their veterancy line fully upgraded from the start, and obviously with no kit costs and basically no leveling to upgrade, they're just a free unit, as kind of you'd expect with a premium unit. Plus, of course, they give you that 10% boost to bronze, hero XP, unit XP, and honour rewards for every siege and field battle if you have them in your inventory. You don't even have to take them out into battle to get it. But what are they like actually as a combat unit? Well, they're okay. I think that's about as good as it gets. They obviously are a feudal era unit. They're only a 2.5 star unit, so you're not going to expect them to be great. You know, they aren't comparing up to things like prefecture archers and stuff like that. If we actually go and take a look at them in the unit tree, you'll kind of see where they sit down here. They're sort of equivalent more with some of the levy bowmen, perhaps some of the domain archers, perhaps 2.5 stars, similar to the domain archers, the iron cap archers. They're that sort of era in terms of their quality, and they feel like they fit similar to that sort of thing. It doesn't feel unreasonable compared to some of that stuff. They certainly don't stack up to prefetchers, vanguards, fire archers, anything like that. They suck compared to those. So what is it? What abilities do they get? They get wrong button, wrong way, where have I gone? Lost it, still lost it, not found it yet. There we go. Shadow Poison Arrow. Basically, it's kind of like fire arrows, but instead of dealing fire damage, it does a tick poison damage whenever you activate it. Has quite a long cooldown. I think it's a 50-second cooldown, something like that. And it ticks. Supposedly, it's supposed to be ticking around 180 points of damage per second for around 5 seconds after it's been hit. It doesn't stack if you hit someone twice. It just resets the timer. It doesn't actually stack the poison damage. So that's nice. Poison arrows, yeah, it does add a little bit of damage to them. Quite effective, I find, against some of the heavier armoured units, because you're applying that ticking damage, which you wouldn't really be applying very effectively with just normal arrow hits, because obviously they don't really have the armour penetration to be doing vast amounts of damage, because they have a penetration of 775, which is really quite low. And that's what probably more than anything limits their damage potential, because the 1423 piercing damage is actually okay, but it does nothing against any shield units, really. You know, even things like prefetchers and stuff have sufficient armour to be reducing and negating the damage a lot, kind of, really. Against things like pike militia, serfs, woodcutters, some of the sword militia, that sort of thing, they seem to do pretty well. But against anything else, the piercing armour penetration isn't really high enough for them to be applying large amounts of damage. So some other little interesting points of note are the range. They get 80 base range, same as other archers. That's nice. It feels like they've got a decentish range for the tier. And they get a really good chunk of ammo. They get 1200 ammo, which, considering most archer units got an ammo nerf in the pre-season update, actually feels pretty generous. Their ammo supply lasts quite a long time because they don't fire super fast or anything like that. So they kind of go on pretty nicely. Some of the worst points are the health, which you might not think is a problem, but it's so low that, you know, someone sneezes near them and they die. They do die super, super fast. One hit from an enemy archer, a hero or unit, and they're pretty well dead. So they collapse super fast under fire. And the absolute worst bit I've found so far, and I'm not sure if this is a bug or intended, but of course they get an attack area ability, like pretty much every archer does, which enables you to designate where you want them to fire. It basically doesn't work. You can designate it on a group of archers, you know, behind 3 shield walls at the back, and they will just shoot the first shield wall right in front. They don't make any attempt to seemingly follow the attack area. We'll have a bit of a look at that in a clip later on. That really limits them for me, because you know, they do such stupid things when it's so annoying when they, you know, they're shooting at a shield wall in front when they're being shot at from archers at the back. If they had the working area attack a little bit better, then I think that'd make a real big difference to how these guys played. It would make them a lot better, in my opinion. So yeah, all in all, okay. Not a very high tier unit. Feels like a not very high tier unit. Pretty mediocre. but great benefits in terms of the plus 10%, because it's like getting a third of a premium account for free, basically, once you've brought these guys for the 250,000 silver. But anyway, let's hop into a battle with them, and I can kind of point out a few of the things on how it works in actual combat. So, before we actually get into a really good clip, I just wanted to highlight this area attack problem that I've been having. And it's a couple of minute long clip, if I can even speak English. So initially, I just get in position at the back of this fight here, see the enemy's kind of a long way off, and the area attack just fine. But that's because there's nothing else nearby for them to get distracted by, effectively. So they get some shots in. You can see nothing amazing. When they're hitting the more heavily armoured units, they're hitting for like 100, something like that. When they hit some of the pikemen, which are a bit lighter, it's a little bit better. I get caught on a bloody stun of a pike. And there's 4 heroes emerge from the woodwork. I think, ah, crap, and run away. But yeah, they're keeping up evasive fire, making use of the poison arrow. You see it's got quite a long cooldown, so it's not that effective in that sense. But we're getting a few shots in, and we're landing some hits and getting the odd kill. Nothing spectacular, but they're doing a little bit. They're a 2.5-star unit. What do you want? So they're doing that, and I start to move them up because we've got quite a bit of range pushing up, and they have pretty mediocre accuracy at the best of times. So getting them a bit closer helps a little bit with landing a few hits. But I noticed there was enemy muskets. You see just round the corner there on the wall. So I'm trying to keep myself in line with this section here because I didn't want them to start to getting hit. But as we're throwing shots down here, you see the enemy archers right at the back of the map. See them starting to get set up into position. In a minute, they're going to start focusing fire on us. Absolutely good move by them. There we go. The hits are coming in. I see this, think, oh crap. Get my units to return focus fire on them. And look at what they're doing. They're just shooting some random Imperial Spearguards despite having an attack order. I couldn't believe they were doing this. So I tell them again. And look, they just stood there shooting at the thing closest to them. Despite having an attack order to shoot at the archers at the back, which are well in range of them. And as a consequence, we lose a good chunk of our unit and do no damage to those enemy archers. We just hit a couple of fleeing spearmen, which is obviously not very handy at all. So that was really quite annoying. So I came around the corner, I tried to change my attack angle, thought I could see if I could get the archers this way around. You can see I push up a little bit myself, just to try and get a little bit of a side shot on those archers, sneak some shots down there, and they just completely ignore the attack order and just attack the thing that's closest to them, which just happens to be that glaive hero. And then when things move out the way, they start to think about it again, changing their attack. But beyond then, it just doesn't do anything. But anyway, let's get on to a proper clip. Just wanted to highlight the attack area problem. So, just a little bit later on in the afternoon, and I've kind of been trying to work my way around the area attack problem and focusing them more as sort of a relatively aggressive frontline archer unit. Because then they just start throwing arrows, because they don't have great accuracy. So if you can get them pretty close, though, they seem to work okay. And we're kind of in the later stages of a siege here, and I was thinking about trying to apply some pressure on the point. Most of the team sort of pushing up quite nicely, so I bring the archers up here at the back, and just set an attack order in the middle in the hope that they may vaguely shoot at the enemy, and they just go to work. I actually managed to take out an enemy hero pretty nicely early on, and even though these monastics look, even though they're so heavily armoured, you're still sitting base values, and because they're so close, the landing hits pretty easily. Actually, do a fairly good job against those guys. I was quite impressed with them there. And I'm just leaving them to do their thing. No micromanaging going on here. I'll take a few hits myself, so I just pull back into cover, go for a bit of a heal. But you can see the archers still racking up some nice little kills, getting a couple of kills here and there. Nothing amazing, but as again, 2.5-star unit for what they cost, and for the fact that they're giving me this premium bonus anyway. They're quite nice for just getting a few kills, clearing things out of the back. I keep cycling the poison arrow just to give them that little boost of damage. You know, it only runs for 5 seconds, so it's not super effective, but you know, every little helps and all that sort of thing. So they're still getting a few kills, but a lot of the enemy have cleared off from the central point kind of thing. So I'm now sort of looking about how I'm going to push up. So I wanted to start pushing the units up, trying to apply a bit more pressure, try and get them shooting a little bit around the corner, get some of these ranged units, which thankfully, because they're the closest thing anyway, they actually follow their attack order and do get some hits in. But we're against much higher tier ranged units, and you see, even against those armoured muskets, we're still in a couple of hundred points per hit. And when they've got a few thousand health, that's not going to take them down very fast. And they one-shot me. So, yeah, I took quite a few losses there. Pushed too far forwards with them, basically. Lost that shield wall at the front due to the artillery. And it's kind of cost me. So I pulled the units back, keep them more as sort of a bit of a covering fire force from the back. As we kind of get into this stalemate on this match, where no one has much left in terms of numbers. Then Fender team brings up some spears. I thought this was the time to push. I wanted to play sort of pretty hyper aggressive with my hero. I don't have the units for it, so I locked down this guy because there's quite a few enemy ranged. Unfortunately, an enemy poleaxe comes out the woodworks. It does a good job in interrupting me, and of course, I get cut down. Which is a bit of a shame, but obviously I've got quite a long respawn, but I'm trying to now find a suitable hero who's close enough where I can try and reposition my archers, because the team is starting to push up now, and I kind of wanted to get my archers up. So we push the black dragon archers up, control them there, and you can see they push into position, and they do just go about providing that extra little bit of fire support. And you can see how long the ammo on them actually ends up lasting, because they do pretty well on the ammo front. They've been shooting for what was 2 or 3 minutes now, pretty much continuously, and they're still not out of ammo, and that helps us secure the victory. So what did we get? 1 hero and 38 unit kills. Nothing amazing, but for what they are, they're perfectly acceptable. They're a perfectly usable unit. Just don't expect, you know, super amazing things from them. But anyway, that's all I've got for you this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for a load more Conqueror's Blade content, and I shall see you all on the next video.